What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Stellar Blade 2 yet again. We talked about a couple months back. They kind of almost like doesn't even seem like a big deal. I think it was through like an earnings call and like charts and stuff. It didn't come across like, oh, here's this really big announcement. We're doing Stellar Blade 2. It felt very much like an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, there's just going to be a sequel to that thing. So that is not surprising. I did see a lot of people. Kind of Wednesday, I think, is where this stuff kind of broke. Kind of just like saying, oh my God, like a Stellar Blade 2. Well, we knew that. So I don't really want to make a big deal of like, oh, there's a sequel happening, because they've already said that a few months ago. But they talk about it again. And I think there's kind of two elements to this. One is them doubling down that, yes, there's going to be a sequel, and that's exciting. And there's also specifically what they talked about, kind of what they want to push and make better, the second time around. All right, so let's read this tweet here. Shift Up says they're currently developing a Stellar Blade sequel that will have an expanded worldview and enhanced gameplay. We are actively pursuing the franchise development of the Stellar Blade IP and are currently developing a sequel to Stellar Blade. This sequel will inherit the action-packed nature of the original Stellar Blade while incorporating an expanded worldview and enhanced gameplay, further solidifying its position as a franchise IP. We anticipate that this will result in even greater success than the original. Now, one thing to say is I really like the confidence of these people. If you remember, like I think I've covered a lot of this game just in general, but also like leading up to the PC release, they talked a lot, like even to investors, like people, money makers, right? They were talking quite confidently of like, hey, we believe like this is going to do, like the PS5 version was good. It established it as a franchise, and the PS5 version alone is what let them do a sequel, okay? So, and they've even said that in the past, like that would have been enough. But they anticipated that the PC release would do even better than that. And I don't know if it's ever been like actually said out loud or, like analyzed if it did, but it did do extremely well for them. I think that was pretty darn clear. And then now it's the same kind of talk, you know what I mean? It's like, well, we got confidence in the PS5 version. Okay, that makes it a franchise. We're going to make a sequel. We feel really good about the PC version. Okay, good. Now we feel like the second game is going to outsell the first game. Now, of course, you want that, right? You want sequels to outdo the first game, and you want sequels to outsell the first game. It's not always a slam dunk, though, right? Sometimes sequels don't actually do it. So I can admire the confidence. I actually really, really like that. And then, again, the first little paragraph there that they're just developing a sequel to the game. All right, you've already said that in the past, but cool to double down on it. And then they talk about expanded worldview and enhanced gameplay, which is pretty exciting. I mean, the gameplay is so good, and I think looking back, it's going to, when I say age well, like it was really good when it came out. It just came out. Like it's not like it came out 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Like it came out in a really good state. I think the gameplay was super, super good. And even thinking back, again, you don't have to think back like even 3-4 years. You think back the gameplay, I think, has aged, at least in my head, it's aged really, really well. And I think people really can respect the gameplay, even if maybe they don't like some of the other elements of the game. So, even just to double down on gameplay, you don't even necessarily have to make, new enemy types, new bosses, things like that, right? New abilities and stuff. But, you could just really double down on it and expand it just a little bit, or even just keep it the same. And I think like 9 out of 10 people would be happy, right? So to know that that's going to be enhanced, right? And then the expanded world view, that one's interesting. Like, you already have, it's a game with like zones, right? I don't know if you want to call it like semi-open world. I guess zones lead into each other, so that probably is kind of the informal definition. Maybe just doing that a little bit more. I don't think we need to make Stellar Blade like Elden Ring, like make it like a full-on or Witcher 3. Like, I don't think we need to do that. I really think kind of just the style that they do it, like fast travel points and like a hub world and, a couple zone, like the deserty type thing, and, kind of one zone leading into another, and there's semi-open world, right? You go around, you can do optional stuff, you can take out optional bosses, you do the story stuff, you do collectibles, all that jazz. To me, it's more about filling out, maybe filling out the world or filling out the lore. I know that's kind of a back and forth of people when it comes to like the story. Like I said it back. You can go watch my review of this game when I played it. It's a great game. I really, really do love the game, and again, I think it aged well even in my head. But the story, I think, could be told a bit more directly, and I think that would probably honestly help the game out. This game really relies on like indirect, reading and things like that to develop what has happened happen to this world without you actually kind of going through it or being told it. So, that I think I would like to be changed, but really it's interesting because like I think it was fine. Like this world kind of mechanic that they had, that's something that I don't really care if it comes back like the exact same. Again, you expect a little bit of enhancement, but I just wonder like how far or how big they would go with that. But super cool. If you remember when we first talked about it, when they first talked about like making a sequel, I think they said they wanted it to come out by 2027. And I think I remember seeing like 2-3 weeks after I made that video and people were talking about it, I think they pulled back on that year because that year, it'll only be 3 years after the first game to second game. Most times that takes at least 4 years, if not 5 or 6. If they want to do a sequel in 3 years with all of this free DLC they've been doing, I mean, I would love it. I mean, that would be so freaking cool if they could get it that quick, but I just don't think that's really realistic. I would not be expecting Stellar Blade until, like I said, probably like late 2028, which would be like 4.5 years after the first game. I think that is way more realistic than expecting it in 2027, but you never know. I mean, some of these companies are much faster than others, and if they're able to do it, why not? I'll buy it day one anyway. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.